What is up, gamers? Staxwell is back at it again today with a Verdance Mastery Guide. I was able to take her to a ProQuest win last weekend. I played 3 ProQuests with Verdance. I was able to top all 3 of them. I wound up winning one of them, losing in top 8 in one of them, and giving a friend the win in the other. So pretty good conversion rate, I think, for a pretty slept on hero. I think people maybe are undervaluing or underrating how good Verdance is in the meta. I do think she had a unfavored matchup into Aurora, and now that Aurora is gone, I suspect Verdance will be eating very well. So we'll talk about what I played at my Pro Quest and how I was able to take it down against Auroras and whatnot in the field, and then we'll talk about what cards I would change moving forward now that Aurora is gone. And we'll do a little bit of speculating for future metas or how I would build the deck. Just depending on the meta, right? So if it's a more aggressive meta, I'll tell you how I'll build the deck. If it's a more defensive or if it's a more combo focused meta, we'll talk about it all. But before we do that, let's just go over Verdance's general game plans. So she really has two like very distinctly different game plans that she could go down. The first one is to just play what I call a mid-range game, which is just wanting to block with 2 cards and then on offense play 2 cards, right? So ideally you want to block with like maybe an Earth and a D-React or something like that. And then on offense, you want to pitch a blue and send Felling or, Nourishing Emptiness or Plow Under. So ideally, you're going to be getting like 6 to 8 block, right? Because maybe you're playing 3 blocks or defense reactions on their turn. And then on your turn, ideally, you're sending a Felling, which is what, 8 points of value or 8 attack. And then like you're putting a card back for 3 more points of value. So, this is like a 17 points of value on a turn cycle. I like actually insane numbers. So being able to play that 2-2 game plan is just like the general strategy of how you're going to beat some decks. And then the other distinct game plan is going to be the combo package that we're playing, right? So we're going to be blocking a lot, setting up healing pots, setting up rampant growth life combos, and just blasting our opponents, dealing like 60 damage in a turn. So with that in mind, I just wanted to kind of like build that framework so I could more accurately talk about the cards, right? So let's go over the equipment first, I presume. So if you're in the like mid-range game plan, the 2-2 game plan, whatever you want to call it, you're normally always playing a Waning Moon, and then you're playing like Storm Striders, Barkskin the Millennium Tree, Stonewall Gauntlet, and then either Plume or Crown of Providence, kind of depending on the matchup. Some of those matchups where you need the 2-2 game plan, so like against something like a Syndra, you really have to do the 2-2 thing very well, right? Because Syndra is a deck like specifically that struggles against like a mid-range hero, but is very good against a full block hero, right? So if you give Syndra 4 cards every turn, that's not gonna fatigue her. She's all reds. She's got the flick knives. She's got the break points. She's gonna get over several points of damage each turn, and you're eventually just going to lose, right? So Syndra is a very good example of a deck that is good against full block strategies, but not good against decks that just want to block with 2 cards. So because of that, it's really crucial that we don't miss a turn on attacking with 2 cards. And Plume just helps that, right? If we draw 4 blues, we could block with 2 of the blues, and then on our turn, we could pitch into Plume, get back a Felling, and then pitch the other blue and send the Felling, right? That will just totally change the turn cycle in a very favorable way for us. So it really just depends on the matchup. Like, is it a matchup you could just happily block with 4 cards? And your opponent like kind of will struggle into that. If it is, then maybe Crown of Providence will be better. Or if it's a matchup that like blocking is so important you can't afford to not block, maybe against like an Aurora, where it's not so much like she's gonna leak damage on you. It's if you let Snatch hit, they're gonna draw an extra card and deal like 5 extra damage. Yeah, you probably got to play Crown of Providence, unfortunately. But ideally, you want to play Plume as much as you can, unless you have a very, very compelling reason to have to play Providence, right? Moving on, Stonewall Gauntlet, like all of the options you have for arms aren't great. There's other options, like just depending on how the meta shakes up. The current one we're in, Stonewall Gauntlet, always gets at least 2 points of block, sometimes more. So, like on the assassins, like Slippy, for example, they'll go Save Your Bloodshed into Kiss of Death, and then they want to flick knives that Kiss of Death, right? So, if they go Save Your Bloodshed, Kiss of Death, you block with this, that's 2 points of value. And then since they want to flick the Kiss of Death, they have to attack with another card. So they'll attack with the other card and then flick the Kiss, but then you also get the -1 on the other card that they attack with. So in that matchup, it blocks for 3. Against Syndra, it blocks for 3, 4, 5 sometimes, just depending how wide they want to go with the chain links. Even against like the mirror, not that you would play it, you would play nodes anyway, but maybe against like Florian or something. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm getting at here is like every single deck pumps their attacks to some extent. You'll always get at least 2 block out of this. And then some decks want to continue the chain, so you'll get 3 points of value out of this card. But always bare minimum 2, which just by itself makes it the best arm piece we have, unfortunately. Hopefully a better one comes out that we could play over Stonewall. But as it stands right now, that's what we have. Definitely not like integral to the strategy or anything. Nodes, we're pretty much only playing nodes for the arcane barrier. Being able to pitch to amp is nice, but yeah, that's not ever really the reason you're playing nodes. It's really just in there for the AB. Bark Skin of the Millennium Tree, this is in here over Tunic because there's just not enough good Tunic plays in the deck. Everything either costs 3 or 2, and the things that cost 2 don't have go again. So it's a little bit tough on that front. Like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like felling Tunic Waning Moon, but like you can't because you don't have the Tunic resource. The only thing I miss with it is being able to Pulsing Aether, Life, Tunic, shoot the Waning Moon. It's the only thing I ever miss with Tunic, but Barkskin gets so much value that yeah, it's not a big deal. Barkskin's a crazy card, especially because like a lot of your blue base is the wizard cards, right? You have the Aether Tides, Aether Arc, Emeritus Scolding. You're getting 4 block on a lot of cards. So if an assassin sends like bonds at you, you could just, I mean, if you read that they have no go again, you can shove like 2 cards and your Millennium Tree for like what 10 block. Yeah, that's not getting through on you, and then you can kind of guarantee your felling. So yeah, a lot of good things happening with channel or with Barkskin of the Millennial Tree. Also very good against the like Aurora like decks that want to go kind of wide with the 4 attack breakpoints. Shove this in front of the sword and then use 1 card to block all of the 4 attack breakpoints. Never really plays out like that, but the potential is there, I guess. And then the other card we're playing is Olivia Constellas. This is just really in here for the AB. It's not like Icelander, you know, you're not shooting your Waning Moon so often. So sometimes this kind of sits around with energy counters for a little bit and you struggle to find a way to cash them in. But I still bring it in against, you know, all of the wizards and against Vincent, because Vincent's always throwing so much arcane damage at you. You could really convert that well. And then, of course, Striders. You're always playing Striders, the 2-2 game plan, the mid-range game plan. Ideally, you're going down equally with your opponent, and then just Storm Striders killing them at the end. Waning Moon is the default weapon for that 2-2 playstyle, and then if you're on the combo playstyle, you're going to be playing Surgent Aethertide. That kind of goes without too much explanation. But yeah, just the way you want to play is just like play with 2 cards every turn, right? So it just makes more sense to play with Waning Moon, being able to just like pitch a blue, Pulsing Aether, Waning Moon, that's 6 value or whatever. Kind of unpreventable if you're a deck like Syndra or whatever. And, you know, on the kill turn, which is the Storm Strider's turn, Waning Moon's obviously going to get you a lot more reach than Surgent Aethertide would. So yeah, Waning Moon on against decks that you want to block against. Definitely Waning Moon. Moving on into the main deck, these 45 cards are in pretty much on every matchup. Channel goes without saying. This card's like actually insane. Felling, obviously, we don't need to talk about these kind of cards too much. Nourishing Emptiness is an interesting one. It's kind of surprising when I first started playing this deck or when I first seen the deck list that were playing this card. I almost wasn't buying it. I'm like, nah, there's no way you're dropping this consistently with the effect. But no, you really are. You decompose so much in this deck. that yeah, it's actually online quite often. Overflow, the Aether Well is really just with channel. Like if you channel Overflow, then you could fit in a Waning Moon, which is actually very nice because if you have a channel, then you could block with 3 cards, which you normally couldn't, and then get Overflow the Aether Well for 8 arcane in there. Because it's going to be 6 base. If they don't AB3, then it's 2 more, right? So, very good card, Overflow. I like that one a lot. Pulsing Aether Life. I'm a big fan of just 1 for 4 arcane damage. So a lot of times I don't even activate the life side. But yeah, against like when you're playing the mid range game plan, most of the time it's against decks that don't have like you're playing that game plan because you can't combo an aggro hero. That's most of the time why you're playing it. And aggro heroes don't want to pitch to AB, so yeah, holding on to this in a blue and then just throwing 6 arcane. While it's a little bit below rate, it's fine. You'll make up for it in Storm Striders, and you'll make ideally it'll make potentially make their turn a little bit more awkward, right? Because they didn't get a chance to block, and they maybe didn't want to pitch to AB because their cards are red or something like that. So yeah, I quite like pulsing Aether Life in that game plan, and then in the combo game plan, it is a Earth. Uh, it's an Earth spell, the only Earth spell that you have, and sometimes that comes up in for Plume of Evergrowth. If you just need the way to kill, right? You have like sometimes you have the rampant growth lives, and then you just can't find the spell. So it being an Earth spell is actually kind of a huge deal. Rootbound Carapace like is the backbone of all Earth decks. Ideally, you want to get your first decompose with Rootbound Carapace, and then the second one with either a Felling or a Plow Under, um, to kind of be online, right? You don't want to throw your first card as a Felling for 4. It feels terrible. Like, not only is it a below rate play generally, it's also you're losing a Felling. You only have 3 of those in the deck. So, yeah, you definitely want to see one of these first. I was originally playing 3 yellows and 3 reds, and I would happily go back to that. But I was just so block heavy because the meta is so aggro slanted right now. I just didn't feel like I had a problem. Like, I could find one of these. I'm going to be blocking so much. I'll be okay. I'll find one. The game's not going to go. The game's going to go long enough to where I'm going to find them. It's going to be okay. Plow Under needs no introduction. Ring of Roses, this card's like actually just crazy. This card's insane. I do side it out against Florian though, because Florian has so much aura destruction, and for some reason everyone's playing it right now. So I side it out against Florian, but everything else is just crazy against. Even against aggro, it's still an Earth block 3 if nothing else. And yellow cards are actually like kind of goated in this deck because every hand, like you actually must have a threat and a blue, and then 2 cards that block well. So this is kind of resource and then blocks well as well. So if you don't have blues, like you could like pitch this and throw a Plow Under or a CNC or a Nourishing. So cards being yellow is actually very, very relevant. Moving on, I wanted to have a decent amount of spells in my blue base to be able to make use of the Barkskin embodiments. So I have 2 Aether Arc, 3 Destructive Aether Tide, 3 Heartbeat, and 3 Emeritus Scolding. Nothing like too spicy to say on this stuff other than I really try and make a lot of use out of Ponders in this deck. Not only do I have 2 Seeds of Tomorrow, but I also have the Crown of Providence. So random Ponders, like if I find an Aether Arc off a Ponder or I find a Destructive Aether Tide off a Ponder, typically that would not be great, but here it's okay. And then Aether Arc is also just if all you have is just like 1 card, maybe you thought they were going to attack another time, so you held a blue, or maybe they codexed you or disrupt your hand in some way, coal or something like that, and you wind up with like an extra random blue in your hand. I guess this one is slightly better than Destructive Aether Tide. But yeah, Destructive Aether Tide is obviously a lot better when you have channel. But yeah, this card definitely not bad, and because this deck likes Ponder tokens so much, that's why I chose to include it. Autumn's Touch, blue block 3, Earth. Not much more to say on that. Emeritus, I try and pitch this as much as I can. If I have other blues in my hand, I will try and prioritize blocking with those so I could pitch Emeritus, so I could see it second cycle and kill with Storm Striders, It, and Waning Moon. That's like 7 points of reach. which a lot of aggro decks aren't going to be able to cover in the very, very late stages of the game. Fruits of the Forest. This one is like probably one of the better ones against decks that don't attack you because you could just fill up your grave with earth cards using Fruits of the Forest, just discarding it. It's also very good because it's a blue, like in the combo game plan, because it's a blue that you'll pitch, see its second cycle when you're ready to combo. And then if it's an extra card in your hand while you're ready to combo, you could just discard it to get 2 more healing, which will be 2 more amp off Rapid Growth Life, right? So Fruits of the Forest, pretty easy include as well. Heartbeat when you're online kind of becomes a red, like against, when you're in that mid-range game plan, you could pitch a blue, Heartbeat, gain, and then Waning Moon for 2 or for 1. So that's like what, 7? Oh, wait, no. Waning Moon, 2 damage, and then this is 3, and then Verdance effect is 3 more. So it's a 2 card 8. Yeah, 2 card 8. So it's basically a red card when you're online. Very good stuff. Mental Block, again, this deck very much likes Ponder tokens, thanks to Seeds of Tomorrow and whatnot. Mental Block is also quite good right now because of like Syndra and Flick Knives decks in general, like Slippy. Obviously, Aurora is gone, but that was a big reason to play it as well. I still think it could be quite good, just depending how the meta shakes up. If there's going to be a lot of Kano or Kasai, this card's very good into those as well. So seems like it's going to be good even into the new meta here. And then Seeds of Tomorrow, of course, because of all the Ponder stuff we play. I could even be talked into going up to a third Seeds of Tomorrow, to be honest with you. And then this is also kind of a unique situation because it's an Earth card. You can activate it, have it in your graveyard, and then just kind of always the threat of Plume is there. And which could definitely come up. Sometimes I do that against like assassins like Mario or Slippy. Definitely use that against Kano. There's a few decks that's like actually backbreaking against. So yeah, kind of keep that in mind. So yeah, that's like the core 45. We're playing that all the time, every matchup. Uh, as far as like the main deck, the equipment kind of definitely comes in and out. But moving on to the side deck, we have 3 Command and Conquer. Just another threat to be able to throw against the more aggressive decks. Yeah, not too much to say here. Just is a must block. Take some cards out of their hand, forces them to play a 2-2 game plan with you, which they're never going to come ahead of, right? Their 2-2 is not going to be felling, right? Moving on, Eternal Inferno. This is a little bit of a meme card, but I will say that there is a situation it could work, right? And the only situation it could work is if you have Channel and you have Eternal Inferno and a blue in your hand. So you pitch Eternal Inferno, it deals 7, banishes itself, then you pay 1 more resource for Storm Striders and Eternal Inferno again for 4 more. And that's pretty rare, brother. That's not going to come up too much. But I had it come up in top 4. And guess what? It comes up so infrequently. I missed it. I forgot all about it. It was actually game. Like I could have killed him if I did this. And I just forgot and Waning Mooned instead. And then I almost fatigued because of it. Like if it was against a Slippy, if the Slippy had just like daggered every turn for the rest of the game, I couldn't have killed because I didn't have anything left in my deck. Thankfully though, the Slippy like tapped out to play like an attack reaction for game, and then I Storm Striders killed him in response. But yeah, there's a few different cards you could play in this spot. Obviously, the better one is just the 1 for 4 that you could discard this to amp 1. But that card's not EA, so it's not as cool looking. So that's why we're going with Eternal. That's why we're going with Eternal Inferno. But this is kind of just like I want another red spell in my deck to be able to have a little bit more reach, a little bit more consistency on my Storm Strider's turn. So this could be like a red Emeritus Scolding or a red Snapback, something like that. That's like the only examples I could think of. But this could really be like any red spell you want it to be. What's that other card? The red card that makes a ponder on Surge that costs 2, swings for 5? I don't remember. Anyway, regardless. Eternal Inferno is just I like 1 for 4 is the best because like I said, pitch a blue, play this, and then Waning Moon for 2. That's why I chose to play it. I only played in my 2-2 game plan for the most part. But sometimes that could change, right? Sometimes I know they're on AB3 super tanky, super fatiguey. I'll take out my overflow for Eternal Inferno just for a little bit more reach. Weird situations like that make me want to play more Eternal Inferno. or more spells in general, so I'll bring them in. Moving on, I brought an evergreen to the tournament, thinking like people would try and fatigue me or something like that, but a lot of regrets on this. Honestly, I think this card's probably better at blue. I was also afraid of Prism this tournament, so that was kind of like a little bit of a hedge versus both of those decks. Like I figured it'd be good versus Prism and good against Fatigue. It was never good at all. It was just a 2 block all day. So maybe it was just bad variance. I actually haven't tested this one too much. I'd be curious to keep testing it. But if I wanted to play a card just to combat fatigue, I would definitely switch this to a blue evergreen and go from there. Moving on, I played 2 Shelter and a Fate simply because I sold my non-foil 3rd Shelter to try and make it foil, and I haven't bought the foil yet, so I only have 2 Shelters. So that was the only reason. Uh, if it was a more serious tournament, I would have bought the 3rd Shelter before I started. So yeah, 3 Shelter basically. Just imagine that's 3 Shelter there. And 3 Sync. I just wanted more D-reacts for all of the assassins and auroras and whatnot. Moving on, 3 Summers Fall. This card's like fine against a ton of different decks, right? It's a popper against Prism. It's also good at putting auras back against Prism. It's good at putting auras back against Vincent or Florian or putting back Channel Lightning Valley. There's like so many things it like does. Like nothing's crazy blowout potential, but it's a fine card and it's a popper. So against the decks that it's good against, I just imagine like even against a Florian, if you're putting back just like a rune chant, that's just like one more point of value. So it's basically a 2 cost 7 that's decomposing, which is fine. Yeah. So moving on, of course, 3 Rampant Growth Life and 3 Healing Potion. This is kind of integral to the combo strategy. You can't combo without these cards. So you have to play 3 of them. No complaints though, they're very good. 3 Scour, I was expecting Florian to be a very big player in the weekend, and he was. So yeah, 3 Scour makes a lot of sense. Surgent Aethertide, we already talked about for the combo game plan, or against decks that just want to block in general. Surgent Aethertide is like one of the best ways to convert your hand. I wanted to play against a Jarl in top 2, and every turn was just like pitch to Surgeon, and it's like puts them in a spot where it's like, I guess I'll AB. And then I'm like, okay, pitch a blue Felling. So it's like you just lost a card to AB, and now you're losing another card to Felling, and I have 8 coming your way, and you have 2 cards in hand. So this just creates a lot of bad spots for your opponent. And then what is the fatigue deck not gonna AB this? Please be my guest. This puts them in so many bad situations. They probably shouldn't AB it, but then if they're never ABing your Surgent, then like yeah, your Eternal Infernos are coming in for 5 and whatnot. Yeah, it just puts them in a bad spot. And then I had a Pyroglyphic Protection. I was thinking I could Storm Striders this in when someone tries to send a bunch of rune chants my way, and it would ruin their stack of 100 rune chants or whatever. And then I was going to take like half the rune chants and then Storm Striders this in, so that way I'm lower than them and I could get around their Reaping Blade and gain a bunch of life and blow them up with the combo. Never came up though. But I did side this in against a Vincent. I was like, I just want more blues to be able to AB more. And I was facing a very good Vincent player in top 8. They weren't attacking me, so I couldn't decompose. So my turns just sucked. Like I couldn't send anything. He was just like setting up rune chants and passing. And then he like got to a point where he had like 10 or 12 rune chants and passed. And I just could not find a Scour. I was digging so hard. So then I had this and I was thinking like, do I want to arsenal it and try and stop these 12 rune chants with a Storm Striders? Or do I just want to play it? But if I play it, he could just stack more rune chants again. But then I was like, I don't think I'm gonna win if I Storm Striders this out. So I wound up just playing it. And because I played it, he couldn't send those 12 rune chants, so he stacked a little bit more and passed. And then my next hand, thankfully, I found a Scour. So got pretty lucky on that to be able to find the Scour, but this card did put in work this weekend thanks to that. But yeah, outside of Storm Striders in it is probably a bad card. But it did get there. Kind of interesting. Okay, so that's what I played this weekend. Let's talk about the other cards that Verdance plays, why you would want to play them, why I didn't play them, or the situations or metas in which I would want to play them. So yeah, let's just go ahead, jump straight into it. If there's ever a meta that a lot of cards are being drawn, I would consider playing Balance of Justice. This could happen next meta, right? Maybe the three of a kind doesn't get banned and Rangers are drawing a lot of cards. Of course, the new mech, every other crank draws you a card. So yeah, Cerebellum plus that's two cards right there. You know, there's situations, maybe Blood Rush Bellows decks come back in the meta in a big way. A lot of ways that Balance of Justice could be super relevant. I don't think it is right this second, but I could see a world in which it is. And if that's the case, I would probably just cut Crown of Providence for that. Maybe I just cut some of the ponder stuff in general, right? Maybe this stuff just becomes less good, right? Maybe you don't need Mental Block and Seeds of Tomorrow as much next format. In which case, Crown of Providence wouldn't be as necessary. Maybe I play Balance of Justice just because of that. But yeah, it's a fine card. I don't think it's necessary for what we're doing here, obviously, but it could be very good down the line. Blade Beckoner Gauntlets, if you know there's like dagger decks or something like that are very prominent in the future, right? You could use the first block on this to cover a 4 attack breakpoint, and then the next block would be for a 1 power dagger, kind of giving you two different blocks out of your arm piece that could be better than Stonewall Gauntlet. Again, we're just not in that meta, but that's definitely a consideration, right? I think it's a fine card, but just not the time for it. Tunic, we talked about why we don't play it so much, just because there's just not enough good Tunic plays as of right now, right? Maybe in the future that changes, depending on like what cards you would want to play in here. We could talk about some things that are good with Tunic, but even all of this stuff, all 89 cards in the maybe board, even none of them are like particularly good with Tunic. So I don't, I love Tunic. I'm like the biggest Tunic stan. It's like one of my favorite cards in the game. It's just not the deck for it, unfortunately. Moving on, Hold Focus. If the meta gets like very, very blocky, very, very fatiguey, I guess we could side a copy of this. But I'm not really seeing it because I think you would just always play. Nah, you would never play this. This card's just never good. You would always play Metacarpus Nodes instead of this. I guess if you were playing like Mind Warp or something like that, maybe this could be a good way to cheese that over and force an AB out of your opponent. Cadaverous Tilling, I actually kind of like this card, just a 2 card 8, right? It's very fine, good numbers. I feel like Michael Hamilton would play this if he played the deck, just because, yeah, 2 card 8. I could see cutting Nourishing for it or something like that. My one and only gripe with it is it blocks 2. Other than that, I actually really like it. And it's a 6 power like base, so it's a popper. So yeah, maybe if we get to a point in the game where yeah, it's a little bit slower, or maybe we need more poppers. Maybe like Dromai comes back and we really need a lot of poppers. I could see going back to Tilling. I could see like maybe like the format's like very very blocky and Nourishing would never even get through, even if it was online. If that's the case, and you know people are blocking a lot, I could see going back to Tilling. But as it stands, I think like you have a flexible attack slot in your deck, and I'm just choosing to use that on emptiness right now. But yeah, I could see a world in which you would play this. CYB, I think, could be crazy. The only problem with it is like it's life gain and not prevention. So if there's on hits in the game, yeah, this card's like, oh my gosh, it's so much worse. If you're playing against like Aurora or Syndra or something like that, they're just gonna walk all over you with their Mask of Momentum or Channel Lightning Valley or whatever. Rangers are probably gonna have a lot of on hits, so it's gonna be yeah, a bit taxing to play CYB. The upside of this card, though, of course, is it makes your Rampant Growth lives just go actually crazy. So yeah, could be worth considering down the line. Again, if it's a slower meta, I could definitely see CYB making a comeback. But just in a world with so many on hits, Verdance just isn't the deck for CYB. It's also not an action, so it's hard to decompose with it. There's definitely a lot of problems with CYB. It doesn't quite work right now. Emeritus Scolding, again, we talked about it. It dealing 6 damage is pretty good, right? You go 1 card Storm Striders and deal 6 damage with Emeritus Scolding, so that's pretty good. Uh, like right, especially if like you block with 2 to 3 cards, they're gonna think you're tapped out. They're gonna think you're not gonna Storm Striders them, so maybe they'll throw their last card your way, and then boom, you pitch a blue, play Emeritus from your arsenal. It's gonna catch a lot of people off guard. I played it for quite a while, and it just every time I drew it, I hated it with a passion, with a burning passion. This is one of the few cards though where Tunic would be kind of nice with it, right? Because you pitch a blue, play this, and then Tunic Wand. But I just like the 1 for 4s better because you don't have to play Tunic. But maybe something else makes you want to play Tunic, and then you could kind of incidentally fit this in. But yeah, as it stands, I think it's a much better card on the kill turn and a much worse card every other turn that you draw it. E-Strike, this card would be very good if you were looking to convert big hands because of the go again. It's also just a nice 2-card 7, right? Kind of a very flexible, very glue card. If I was in a more open meta, maybe I would play it over something like the Summer's Falls or something like that, maybe over the Nourishing even. Like if I just did not know at all what I was going into. Align Strike is just such a flexible card in every way that it just, like, you can never go too wrong with playing it. The reason I took it out, it's always in my deck, and then I always like have to make a tough decision somewhere. I think it was like Summer's Fall that I had to make the tough decision with, where it's like, I need a popper, I need a way to deal with this or that. I gotta take out the E strikes for the side deck Summer's Fall. You know, something like that is always what pushes E strike out of my decks. Erase Face, this could definitely take the spot of like Nourishing. Maybe CNC goes in the main and Erase Face goes in the side if it's ever a format that, like, you know, demands you play Disruption every turn against a very powerful aggro deck or something. That's just not the case right now. I think the cards that we have are disruptive enough. Yeah, you don't need Erase Face. Etchings of Arcana, you could play this with, where is it? Sigil of Earth as like a little package instead of Overflow the Aether Well, and then, I don't know, maybe you take out 2 Seeds of Tomorrow or something. Yeah, if you hate Ponders, if you hate drawing random cards and arsenaling them, I don't blame you at all. So if you actually hate playing Seeds of Tomorrow and you know, pondering in general, then yeah, take out the overflows, put in etchings, and then take out the seeds and put in Sigil of Earth. My only complaint with this little package, this little combo, is Sigil of Earth just sucks to draw. It's like actually terrible. That's really my only complaint though. Moving on, Fate Foreseen. I just don't think any deck should ever play that many D-Reacts. What do we have? 3 Sync. What is it? 3 Shelter, and then 5 Rootbound. So what is that? 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 D-Reacts, and then you want to up it to 12, 13, 14. You're just kind of asking to get CNC'd, or I forgot the name of the assassin card that says you can't. It was Backstab. I think it's called Backstab. Can't play D-Reacts to it. I've even seen people playing Wreck Havoc and things like that because D-Reacts are so prevalent in the meta. So yeah, I think overloading on D-Reacts or Dreadbore, you're kind of asking to lose to these Silver Bullet type of cards. I just not a big fan of it. Fertile Ground, I think Fertile Ground's kind of interesting. You could play Fertile Ground and Energy Potion to kill on your opponent's turn, right? Instead of playing Healing Potion, you play Energy Potion, then on your opponent's turn, you Rampant Growth, Rampant Growth, Rampant Growth, and where is it? Where is it? Fertile Ground, and then Strider's out a big thing and kill him with that. Yeah, I actually don't hate that. I just think it's just, of course, a little bit less consistent than what we're doing right now. It's also possible that like the next format is just so blocky, so fatiguey that you could just play all of it, right? You could just play 3 Epot and 3 Healing Potion, and then just play block with 3 cards and play a potion every single turn. And then, yeah, maybe you have a couple Fertile Grounds in your deck as well, so that way you could kill them on your turn or their turn. Just keep it kind of ambiguous. Maybe you could throw out, like, if they ever give you too much space and they take a setup turn, you could just throw out like a, you know, like a Fertile Ground into a single Rampant Growth Life and throw out like a tempo spell for 10, you know, just to get a Rampant Growth Life in your grave, just to have it for Plume later. But yeah, I think if the meta goes super slow, that's actually the route that Verdance will take and the route that she'll be built. Definitely not the case right now. The meta is a little bit too open, and I don't see it going that way with High Seas either, but it's worth knowing about this stuff, right? If the meta ever gets too slow, you know what you're going to do. It's that's part of why I want to talk about all these cards so in depth. It's like, sometimes the meta changes on the fly after I make a video, or like people are still like commenting on my Prism video from like a year ago, and I just talked about that video so in that particular meta that people are asking questions in pertaining to this meta, and it's like, I don't even play. I haven't played that hero in months. I have no idea what's going on with that hero. I haven't played since the book banning. So yeah, I kind of want to be as general with that as I can with this, and just give as many tips as I can based on our current card pool. And I just think that was a huge area I was lacking on the previous videos. Moving on, Fruits of the Forest Red. I think if Prism is big at your locals, like just play 3 of this card, either 3 of this or 3 red Autumn's Touch, just to have a on-demand popper for Plume. That interaction is so crucial. That's actually why that was like one of the things that pushed me over with Summer's Fall. I was like, hey, my popper for Prism has to be an Earth, so I could get it back with Plume. I know Summer's Fall is a 6, so like it's actually not that good versus Prism, but Fruits is a 7. And especially if like other decks like Florian or maybe Vincent are getting big and they don't attack you, they take all these turns to set up Rune Chance, and you're struggling to get online. Fruits of the Forest, discard, gain 2, get an Earth in your grave, and then you can start decomposing on them, is actually quite relevant. Also good is the yellow Fruits of the Forest. There's like argument just to main deck this card. Just because we talked about it earlier, the yellow is kind of a nice glue. Like if you had, this in a CNC, it's nice because it pitches for CNC. Or if you had this in a blue, like it's not the worst card ever because it still comes in for 6. You know what I mean? Where other like resource cards, like Autumn's Touch or whatever, come in for 5. So yeah, it's a fine card as is. But yeah, I would consider playing it if like Dromai comes back or something, and we just need a lot of poppers in our deck in general. This is just going in the main deck because it's already like borderline good enough as it is. Fendal's Fighting Spirit. Talking about this card, just like on paper, it seems like the craziest card known to man. Like 7 damage, gain a life, ping 1 with Verdance. 2-card 9 sounds insane. It never works that way. It never ever works that way. Because when you're online, you're at like 14. Like by the time you get online versus these aggro decks, you go so far down. And then against non-aggro decks, um, it's just like not that good because they want to block you anyway, right? What are you gonna throw this at a Florian? He's happy to block 6. He wants to block, right? He's the why he made the deck is because he likes blocking. So yeah, it's just better in theory than it actually is in practice. It blocking 2 really sucks. And then, the gaining a life and pinging, of course, Verdance only activates on your own turn. So if you block with it and gain a life, you don't even Verdance ping. There's a lot of reasons to start second guessing Fendals, but it is a 7 attack, so it's another pop or 2 if Prism or Dromai or something come in the future where you need a lot of Phantasms. It's definitely worth considering, and especially if you have these alt arts, they look so sick, right? Moving on, Photon Splicing. This is the one that you probably should be playing over Eternal Inferno, but Photon Splicing isn't as cool looking, obviously. We talked about that already. But yeah, probably a better card. Probably a better card. Shelter, we talked about. Sigil of Solace, too many on hits. That's why I cut it. It's too hard to, like, if your opponent attacks with Snatch and you have this type of thing in your hand, drives you crazy. So yeah, if it's ever like a less block or it's a less on hit focused meta, card's very good. It's a 1-card 4. It's like life gain is like unpreventable, uninteractable unless I guess they had Poison a Well. But like in general, right? If you like this 4 value from this, right? 3 and then the Verdance ping is so much better than just like attacking for 4 because they can't block this. They can't turn their hand into a way to stop this. This is just unpreventable. And then it also makes the combo go crazy too, right? Just like play this, play Rampant Growth Life. That's what amping 4, and then like just even playing like Overflow the Aether Well for 7, like 3-card 7 offense, and then gaining 4. So what is that? 3-card 11. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. And then the first Rampant Growth Life, you almost always want to like tempo it out like that, just to have it in the graveyard for the Plume later on. But yeah, there's a lot of good things you could do with Sigil. Just too many on hits this format. Snapback, we talked about it a little bit. You could play it over the Eternal Inferno as well. It's kind of nice, maybe in a slower meta too, because on your own turn, you could like, shoot him with like Pulsing Aether Life, and then play Snapback as an instant, and then shoot him for 2 or whatever. So you could like kind of convert big hands with Snapback as well. Yeah, maybe it's worth considering, but the format we're in, it just I didn't like it. It didn't work for me. And then on the Strider's turn, I just felt like I didn't have enough spells in my deck. And a lot of the spells in my deck were the blue cards, which I had to pitch for Storm Striders. So yeah, I just didn't feel like I had quite enough spells to Striders this and kill people. And then activating it on my own turn wasn't happening that much because there wasn't that many decks that were full blocking me. So just I could see it being a good card, but it just wasn't like the time for me right now on that card. Moving on, Standing Order. I think this card is not great, but it's not terrible. And if you're doing as much pondering as we're doing, like it's slightly below rate both ways, right? If you attack, it's a 2 card 6, not very good. And if you block, it's a 2 card 5, not very good. But if you're getting all these like quote free ponders, Standing Order could go kind of crazy. I could actually see playing this card in this deck right now over Nourishing. And even if you did that, you could even like go up on a mental block, like get even or go up on a mental block and an Aether Arc. You know what I mean? Just get full ponder and full ponder value. I actually want to test with that, want to cook with it. I just haven't had the time to yet, but I actually am very curious to see how that goes. Um, it's also kind of interesting too because a lot of the Ranger arrows of old attack for 5, which will be kind of a problem for this deck because you don't want to throw 2 cards out of 5, obviously, and a D-React isn't going to cover 5. So it's actually possible that Standing Order, if there's a lot of 5 attack breakpoints, I will really start testing this card a lot. Moving on, Weakest Link. Yeah, this is just like another 2 for 6 tech card if people start playing a lot of decks that are weak to Weakest Link, then we will play Weakest Link. It's quite literally that simple. Moving on, Rootbound Carapace. I think the blue one is just like never worth playing. And the yellow one, again, I used to play it. I cut it. I am not going to say I don't miss it because there's definitely times where I've thrown an embarrassing felling for 4 or whatever. I actually did that in a couple of games this PQ season. So yeah, there's definitely been times where I miss my Rootbound Carapace, the third one, and it could definitely find its way back in. We were just a bit crammed for space trying to tech for everything, so we just couldn't fit it. But if I was cutting like the ponder stuff, I would definitely bring it back in. If you're not a fan of Aether Arc, it's definitely worth putting in. It being a yellow, again, huge deal. It's basically a resource card. But the blue one, it's just so underrated. It's not very good. Moving on, that all you got. It being a yellow, we just talked about it. We talked about it, probably the 10th time we mentioned it. It being a yellow is very good. And if the meta called for it, I would play it. I just don't think the meta calls for it right this second. A third Aether Arc. I actually just don't have 3. The third one's in the mail. If I did, I probably would play it. 2 actually felt very nice. I want to test a third, but I just haven't got the chance to. I don't even know what I would cut for it if I did. But Aether Arc, every time I drew it, it felt so much better than Destructive Aether Tide. So I actually might just cut a Destructive Aether Tide for it. But yeah, it needs to be tested. Aetherize, if instants ever become very good, what instant would be good? Maybe something like a Seeds or a where is it? Rampant Growth Life. Those are instant, obviously. This could really shut down a Ocilio, maybe on a Gone in a Flash turn, something like that. Yeah, maybe instant cards aren't the most popular thing right this second, but it's worth having it in your arsenal, just having it in the back of your head. If instants ever start ruining your day, just remember Aetherize. Canopy Shelter, I could see a build of this deck like coming to fruition where maybe you play like Standing Order and another 2 for 6 or E-Strike or something, and you just want your 2 for 6s to have better breakpoints. So yeah, I could see you building a deck where you like maybe you cut Nourishing, put CNCs in the main, and maybe like Weakest Linked is just so crazy you play that as well. If I was playing like one more 2 for 6 in my deck, I would just play Canopy Shelter. It's just that good. But yeah, as it stands, it's a fine card. It's just the only problem with it is you just sometimes you don't have an attack and you have to block with this card and it only blocks 2. But yeah, it's a fine card. And then back to that 5 breakpoint thing. If 5 breakpoints become big, then yeah, this blocking 2 would actually not be bad at all. And then you could still get the value out of it with that might. Energy potions we talked about. Heart of Fendel, you already just play so many cards that like don't block very well that it's hard to include heart. But yeah, gets a little bit slower, this card definitely will be crazy. No doubt. Yeah, I mean, you pitch this for 3 value, gain a life, and ping 1. What world would that not be good? You know what I mean? I want to play it in the 2 and 2 game plan so bad, but I just had to cut every single card that didn't block in that game plan. It just wasn't working. But if the aggro decks slow down just a little bit, which maybe they have now that Aurora is gone, Heart of Fendel could definitely be the wave. And even against Syndra, we talked about Syndra a little bit. She will walk you if you block with all 4 cards. So you can't block with all 4 cards. So maybe Heart of Fendel will be good against that deck, even though it doesn't block. I can't block with all 4 cards or I'll lose. So maybe this will be the blue that I pitch to play my Felling or my Eternal Inferno or whatever I play, you know? So yeah, I think it will definitely find its way back in the deck. It's just a matter of time. And even if it does find its way back in the deck, I don't think it'll be like you must have Heart of Fendel or you're throwing kind of thing. So if you're a new player, don't like run out and pick it up. But if you're already a big Verdance guy and you don't have one, well, maybe start looking at them. Maybe see if you can find one for a deal because no one's playing them right now. But yeah, the card's obviously insane. Of course, it's going to be in the deck again at some point. We just gotta wait for the right environment for that. Mental block, if covering all these annoying breakpoints and flick knives and stuff becomes even more important than it is now, I could definitely see playing a third mental block. And again, maybe I would even throw in the standing orders to complement that and really make sure I could cash in on this ponder token. Because this plus this, right? How much value is that? That's so if you attacked with the ponder. All right, so you prevent 2 damage, get the ponder. So this card's 2 and a ponder. And then this card's 6. So yeah, 2 card 8. Boom. That's exactly what we wanted. But it's a 2 card a tricky 2 card 8 too, right? Because the mental block prevents 2 floating. Yeah. Anyway, it's not like insane numbers, but it's pretty good. And then like you don't even have to do it that way, right? What if you ponder into a Felling or a Sink Below or something, which I definitely did this weekend a couple times. Yeah, mental block. I love that card. Poison the Well. Um, yeah, I mean, this goes without saying. If there's decks that gain a lot of life, then Poison the Well will come back in the deck. This is just like a silver bullet card that I would potentially play. Same with Ripple Away, just not the meta for it, but definitely could be the meta for it at some points. Just worth considering because it's a blue 3 block, right? Seeds of Tomorrow, third one could definitely go in. Again, maybe I would pair them with the standing orders. Um, yeah, moving on. Sigil of Earth, we talked about. Snag, I don't think this deck is particularly weak to Assassin, so I don't see the need to play Snag. I kind of don't like this card. I've never liked it. And then also, we're not weak to Assassin. Maybe if you're struggling with Assassin, go ahead, put it in. But yeah, we just play so many D-Reacts and Seeds of Tomorrow, Mental Block, like these kind of things. Like, give us a good Assassin matchup anyway. I think we're fine. I don't think we need Snag, but I guess it's worth considering, right? Maybe other decks other than Assassin will start doing things that get countered by Snag and it'll sneak its way into the deck. But right now, I just don't find it necessary. This round's on me. If Syndra gets really big, I could definitely see myself playing this card. It also being a 1-cost non-attack action, pretty big. Pitch a blue, play this, Waning Moon for 2, obviously. But it being able to block for 4 off of the chess piece, quite good. Drawing a random card and slapping it. Like that's kind of was the problem with this rounds on me before because most of the time you'd wind up just with like this in a tunic or this in a blue or whatever. And then you would this rounds on me, draw a random card, and slap it in your arsenal, you know? Which a lot of decks don't want to do that, but if your deck is built for pondering, it's actually a lot better. So I actually could see playing this card like even right now. Truce, same kind of thing. You're just kind of not the meta for it right this very second. I don't think it's the worst card in the world right now, but it not having go again is such a problem for this deck. But it's a non-attack action. This will be a good one if you bring back in Tunic because you could play this with a blue Tunic and still Waning Moon. But yeah, there's a lot of problems with it. It's far-fetched, but I could see it coming in. I think it's very low on the list of cards that could come in though. Warmongers is quite a bit higher. Warmongers is way less good in this deck because you don't know what you're gonna draw. Maybe there's a world where you know you're gonna have like a attack in your arsenal, right? Maybe you have like a spell in your arsenal that you don't want to activate right now. Then you Warmongers Call Peace, and then next turn you can activate the spell. But as it stands, Warmongers, whichever one you call, your next four cards, it's just kind of a gamble. You really don't know what's in those next four cards most of the time, so that's why it's not in there. Will of Arcana is kind of just like Heart of Fendel to me. It's just not quite there yet. Doesn't block, but I could see it being there. You know what I think we need? I think we just need more spells or better spells, particularly better spells that surge. I should have put these in here, but I kind of want to talk about all of the surge cards. So, like, what was the card I was thinking of earlier? I think Aether Quickening is also a very, very good card, by the way. Actually, Aether Quickening might be better than Eternal Inferno and the Amp one, just because against the slower decks, you could actually like make a real hand out of that. Where is it? Oh yeah, like if you were playing like maybe more things like Mind Warp or Swell Tidings. This is the card I was trying to think of earlier, the 2 for 5. Yeah, if you were playing like Mind Warp, Swell Tidings type things, maybe the meta just goes like full Earth, right? And then you could just take out a lot of your attacks and then just straight spell damage people down, and that way they never get a chance to decompose. Maybe people just start cutting their AB and you do the same exact thing, right? Like if Wizard kind of gets disrespected and slept on, and everyone goes back down to AB1. Okay, we're so back. Let's just play a bunch of spells every turn. Yeah, if you start playing a lot more spells like Mind Warp, Swell Tidings, things like that, I could see including Will of Arcana. But yeah, again, probably pretty low on the list of cards that I would want to include. Okay, I think that concludes my Verdance Yap session. If you have any matchup specific questions or anything like that, go ahead, drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. I'm trying to think of any interesting moments that happened at the tournament or have happened with this deck in general that I could kind of talk about. I had a cool Storm Striders play where like my opponent played, what's that card? Deadwood Dirge, the one that destroys a root chant and you make three more. I had an interesting situation where I had a Scour in Arsenal, and then Deadwood Dirge was the last card in their hand, and they had two Runegate cards in their banished. They played Deadwood Dirge, and then I Storm Striders out my Scour to destroy all their rune chants, so Dirge doesn't resolve, so they take two Blood Debt and end their turn. That kind of won the game for me, I'm pretty sure, because I would have took like 16 if I didn't do that. But I tell you what, I really miss my Storm Striders when I was trying to kill them. Like they were so low and I could just never keep a card. I eventually got there, but yeah. I'm trying to think if anything else interesting to talk about, but I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, yeah, please go ahead, drop them in the comments. Let me know. And that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Later, gamers.